Duel Review is brought to you by NexusDigitalComics.com.
This week on Duel Review, Dark Souls followed by The Last Exile.
We take a look at Evil Dead, the movies, and we start off the week with Batman Dark Knight Returns. I'm RJ.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get to it!
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to January 2nd. It is a Monday. And we are starting the new year off with Batman The Dark Knight Returns.
That's right. Frank Miller, 1986. And we referenced this when we were talking about Arkham Asylum.
Right.
And how, that book and this one from Frank Miller were they signaled a darker Batman.
Yep.
And the book has been re-released. Of course, it was re-released that year in a miniseries, altogether format, but it's been re-released since then, and has a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff in here, just a little bit, but mostly just Frank Miller's rendition of Batman. And reading it again, I'm sure that back then, especially, it was like, wow, what is this? Like, this is very different. I mean, the art itself is it's
right.
Frank Miller, so it's very rough and it's very square and loose, in a lot of places. But again, it's just something that really pushed Batman into a darker area, and so we are so thankful for that. And it is a decent book. It basically addresses, Batman. It's 10 years or 20 years. I think it's 10 years after he's been doing his thing. He's retired.
I thought he was old. I thought it was like 20 years. I thought he was old.
It could be, and there's like 10 years since. I know there's 10 and 20 stick in my head. It's been a long time. He just, took himself out of it.
Right.
He's an old man, and he's over middle-aged. So he looks older than he really... I think he's, 50, 60.
Yeah. So he's old in that he's, older than Batman animated series, but younger than Batman Beyond.
Right. Well, he's
Although it's not necessarily the same timeline, the same continuity.
In Frank Miller's hands, he kind of breaks some rules.
Right.
He uses a gun for, the first time, and I don't know, he's got... I don't know, he's older. He's always, calling himself old in his head, oh, that should have been 2 seconds earlier or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he's fast. He got me so soon. I'm just old.
Yeah, he's definitely addressing his age.
So he's fighting a gang called the Mutants, and the Mutants are trying to take over. There's especially one leader guy.
Yeah.
And Frank has some fun with Batman. Gives him this bat tank and stuff like that.
Well, who doesn't want a bat tank?
Yeah. So Batman has stepped out because of Robin and what happened to him. He's just taking his time off. A lot of the heroes have been forced to retire. Ronald Reagan, or kind of a Ronald Reagan-esque person, is still in power. The Cold War is still going on. And we have to deal with nukes and Superman. He's the only one that's basically he's been employed by the government. He's basically a dog of the government.
Right, and he's the only active superhero left, with the exception of
Batman, who's doing it on the. Well, actually, yeah, that's true. Green Lantern went into space somewhere, and Wonder Woman went back home, to her Amazons,
which is where I belong.
So the story goes. I don't know what happened to Aquaman, but who cares?
He's swimming with the fishes.
Anyway,
literally.
Batman decides to come back into it because of the mutants and because of the trouble they're causing. Harvey Dent is a pivotal character in this, and I'm not going to give too much away, but he is basically, he's... The doctors say that he is well. The people in the asylum, his psychotherapists say that he's well and he's released, and then stuff happens, and whether or not it's him, you'll have to find out. The mutants kind of take over, cause some ruckus. Carrie Kelly is this little girl. Well, I don't know how old she's supposed to be. She sure looks young.
Yes, but,
I think she's high school or early college, though, because she's going to classes, I think. Anyway, she knows the lore of Batman, and she sees him and sees what's going on TV, and so she decides, she's saved by Batman, or she decides to become the next Robin. She dons the outfit. She, makes her own outfit.
Which would be the official first female Robin, right?
Yeah, but she's not really Robin. She's just kind of playing the sidekick role as Robin until the second book, and we'll talk about that when we get to the second book. But
if we decide to do the second book.
We are doing the second book.
Damn it.
So basically Batman coming back in. Again, he's dealing with the tropes of being old,
Right.
and it's compelling enough.
Yeah, I always thought that would be an interesting plot line. Is something has been compelling him this far to just keep on going.
Right.
It's not going to stop when he gets old. So what happens?
Right.
And
Well,
I think this addresses it fairly well.
it really goes into overdrive when Joker does his thing. Again, on the cusp of Harvey Dent being rehabilitated, the Joker supposedly rehabilitated, and it doesn't last very long. Yeah, and we can't give away any more than that. But there is a very violent fight between Batman and Joker that ends in catastrophe, and it's really astounding. And that's part of why I think this book is so weighty, is because it's like, holy crap, what they do there. Having said that, Frank's rendition of Joker, I hate. I really do.
Yeah.
He looks just like a normal dude with some white makeup on. It's not compelling visually, and he's cruel, but he's not...
Joker cruel.
Yeah, psychotic. Well, yeah, he's not funny psychotic. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that edge to him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of crazy to the max. Just brutal, I guess I would say. Anyway, so the book again, I'm trying to kind of say I love this book because of what it does, but there are some negatives. Like, I don't like, and this happens in the second book a lot too, how they devote so much time to like TV panels, like what you're seeing on TV, all the news stories and stuff. It's so dry. And it's good to get us information about what the mutants are doing and, what the opinion of Batman is, because this is a very anti-Batman, the Gotham is anti-Batman for the most part.
The goal should have been, how can we relay this information without doing the same thing over and over? But they definitely do
I guess.
News stories.
But yeah, it's kind of like, coming up next, Batman's an asshole, The mutants are all powerful, and then they have, we've got Senator blah 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 who's pro Batman, and we've got, Congressman blah 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 who's anti-Batman. What do you think? My 5 minutes of 2 cents or whatever. Those stupid shows that they have. Our focal point. Oh, whoops. Anyway, so again, it's pivotal. And so jumping into the second one, just real quick, we're just going to touch on it a little bit. A lot of people don't like this second book. It's Dark Knight Strikes Again, and I can understand why. I was explaining to you that I think it's because it came out when it did. It came out like in 2001.
Right.
Which, we're past the whole... Batman is dark now. He's been dark for years and years and years, and we all appreciate that. We don't want to see an old, dark Batman. It's like, it's just not... It's not compelling in this era. If it was a continuation, if it came out just like this book, or if you read them together, it'll make more sense. It really does. But there's also, like, Bat Boys, which are like these... automaton, droid thing. It's just ridiculous. Just a bad tropes. It's like, what does Batman do when he's old? He relies on robots. I don't know. I guess that could have been compelling in some form, but it wasn't.
I liked the Batman Beyond version of old Batman because he gets the superpowered suit. Not the superpowered suit, but the mechanized suit. But even then, he's kind of slowing down. And then I think the first episode of Batman Beyond, he picks up a gun and then realizes what he's doing, and then that's when he calls quits.
It is fun to see some of these older heroes. Like Flash comes into the picture, Wonder Woman again. We see Superman again, of course. Oh, and that's another thing that's good about the first book, the Batman Dark Knight Returns, is because he and Superman I always love that when they fight. Like, I don't like Superman at all, but I love when they fight because Batman usually gets the better of Superman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's cool to me. But the second book, Carrie Kelly becomes Catgirl. And so she's officially Catgirl, not Robin, not a female Robin. And it's just kind of more of the same. If you're really interested in Dark Knight, you read that. That's kind of like history. That's your homework.
Yeah, I would.
If you like it, read the other one. But read them back to back, and don't consider that it was made in 2001 and it has to stand up to all this new stuff.
Right. Yeah. Just read it. Read the two together for what they are.
The later parts of this first one are really good. I mean, like I say, the fallout with Joker and the battle with Superman. Those are really interesting. We see Green Arrow, like, who cares? But it's kind of like, who is this old guy with a bow? And I'm like, oh, it's Hawkeye. It's like, wait a minute, that's Marvel.
Yeah,
it has to be Green Arrow. Like, that's even worse. Like, I don't like.
Well,
Hawkeye
a lot of people liked Green Arrow.
Really?
I'm
Robin Hood. He even looks like it has the stupid goatee thing and the hat. He has a green hat. I don't know if he has a feather, but he has a green hat. Anyway, in this one, he's just kind of like this insane old guy with long hair. It's awesome.
That's totally how I see him.
So, what did you think about the art? You didn't say about it.
The art. Well, I mean, it is Frank Miller, and Frank Miller definitely has a style. But
he definitely has a style. Back to you.
Okay. Yes, I was pretty ambiguous there. I don't know if it works for Batman. I see Batman as a much more kind of sleek ninja-esque, where Frank Miller is all big and brooding and muscle bound and
a little bit clunkier.
And you don't see something that big just kind of brushing from shadow to shadow. It doesn't happen.
I wasn't, like there's some classic Miller images of Batman that I really enjoy. It's everybody else, like the Joker, and I mean Two-Face it works because Two-Face is kind of gritty and whatever.
Right.
He can't seem to bring any kind of angular, it's all blocky and so again I appreciate it. And Sin City is compelling sometimes.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, just one of those things. Like if you're really into Frank Miller, this is an excellent book. If you're not, it's still a good book. You just might have to get used to the art style.
Yeah, I agree.
I totally understand your opinion. I think that if you're in 1986 and you get this, you're like, wow, what is this? This is way new.
Yeah, that's true.
And possibly, like Frank Miller's really hot at the time, so it's like, of course you'd love to see him tackle Batman. And
right.
Having said that, it is drier, but, again, in our culture, we're used to, fan service every page.
Yeah, that's very true.
And not that kind of fan service. So having a book like this, it's just one of those pivotal thing. It's just like an old video game that we love and that we say there wouldn't be no Assassin's Creed without this game first.
Dino Wars.
It's the same sort of thing with this book. So I really appreciate that, and I do think it's a good story.
Right.
I personally skip a lot of that TV screen stuff, like all it, because it's just redundant.
Yeah,
they say the same thing. I mean, they tell you about how there's a new commissioner or whatever. That's an important piece of information, but you'll get that later.
Yeah.
It's just really like, you still don't like Batman? No, I still don't like Batman. So I just skip that and I read the other stuff, and it's a much quicker read. But it is a pivotal book, so I do recommend it for that reason.
It definitely is pivotal, and I would suggest reading it just for that reason. But
the second one was purely somebody said, "Hey, that one book you did? Do another one. It might be popular." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And Frank Miller doesn't speak like that.
Okay. But I can totally see.
I don't blame him for doing it, and to him, he created this, so I can see it. Understandably. It's just to the rest of us, it's like we're past that. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And, so all right, that's it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
year. We have a lot to do this year, so stick with us. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe. Thank you so much. Support us however you can.
Oh, and if you're going to the Comic-Con, the Emerald City Comic-Con, let me know. I just want to know. I want to get a tally of who of our viewers is going.
Yeah, that would be awesome to meet you guys.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. That's it.
Bye.
I'm Batman. I'm using a gun for the first time.
Oh.
And I hit my target, and now I'll never use it again. Single tear.
Except for that next time.
My robot suit is getting rusty.
Bye.
Coming up on Duel Review, it's Dark Souls. Ronald Reagan is supposedly still... It's a Reagan-ish. He never says Ronald Reagan, but he looks like Ronald Reagan. He kind of speaks like Ronald Reagan. He loves mints or something instead of jelly beans. Anyway. And the Cold War is still going on.
I didn't know that Ronald Reagan liked jelly beans.
So yeah, he was a big jelly bean guy. The era of jelly bellies. Clearly that's the thing that era should be remembered.
1980s, jelly beans.
And the president liked them. Okay, and derailed.
Derailed by jelly beans. It happens so often. You'd think we'd have like...
Why do kids put jelly beans on train tracks? It makes a delicious flat.
I'm totally seeing like a pile of jelly beans on train tracks and then like a big wreckage where the train was.
Like, jelly beans are unscathed and they twinkle.
Because apparently he can steer the train like that.
Yeah. Oh, jelly beans! Oh. Yeah, last time I checked, no steering wheel. Okay.
It's on rails. This week on Duel Review, Dark Souls and Last Exile. Lost Exile?
No, The Last Exile.
The Last Exile. This week on Duel Review, Dark Souls and I want to see The Lost Exile.
Well, don't. I know you want to, but deny yourself that privilege.
Okay. This week on Duel Review, Dark Souls followed by The Lost...
You want to start with Last Exile?
The Last Exile. The Last Exile.
Dark Souls and The Last Exile.
This week on Duel Review, Dark Souls and The Lost... Why am I saying The Lost? Because it's Demon Souls,
like
The Lost.
Lost Planet or something.
Last Exile. Last.
Way to start off the year, Nick.
Thanks.